He will be back here for tomorrow's play. And kind of the boogeyman for a lot of decks. I don't think they really want to play against him. Moving into this match here, we have Brian Zunter on the left. He has at least one Open Series top 8. I actually think it was in Vegas the last time I was here. He is playing, looks like blue-white-red to me. Or actually, no, this is a 4-color control player. Yeah, splashing green for Thragtusk. So he is a traditional blue-white-red deck with Restoration Angel, Snapcaster Mage, Augur of Bolas. His spells are Azorius Charm, Searing Spear, Sphinx of Revelation, Supreme Verdict. He's got 2 copies of Counterflux, 2 copies of Pillar Flame, which actually do work correctly in real life, but they don't work correctly on Magic Online, and 4 copies of Thragtusk. So 4-color control it is.
Yeah, and he's playing against Art Macurda, who's playing a typical Jund deck, similar to the Reed Duke list, 2 Arbor Elf. He has a couple of Vampire Nighthawks, which is a little untraditional, I guess, but typical removal package of 2 Abrupt Decays, a Murder, a Victim of the Night, 2 Tragic Slips. He actually has 4 Bonfire of the Damned.
Get him.
Yeah, 4 Farseek, and then 2 Rakdos Return, 2 Garruk Primal Hunter, 2 Liliana, and 2 Dreadbore. So, typical Jund deck, Huntmaster, Thragtusk, Olivia's, and then a bunch of removal spells. And, you know, we talked about this earlier, but Brian's deck, just because of the kind of threats that he has, you know, he has Thragtusks, he has Thundermaw, and he has Sphinx's Revelation. So it's sort of similar to the Jund Bant matchup, where I think Bant was actually favored just because of the amount of quality cards that they can top deck.
Sure.
But this one's even better because he's not messing around. He has 3 Restoration Angels, and that's really good when you have 4 Thragtusk against a Jund deck.
Yeah.
And we're in game 2, and it looks like Art's down a game. And, you know, he has a couple of options. He has 2 Acidic Slimes in his sideboard. He has a Tragic Slip, a Witchbane Orb, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, 2 Deathrite Shaman, 1 Rakdos Return, 2 Duress, 2 Underworld Connections, 1 Slaughter Games, and 1 Olivia. Don't see him bringing in the Tragic Slip or the Witchbane Orb. You know, granted, Brian has 4 Snapcaster Mage, so maybe he'll bring in a Deathrite Shaman. Not sure if Art wants all 4 Bonfires against this deck.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Art, I'm going to probably sideboard those out. I'm likely to set all 4 just because they are hard to set up. You know, hard casting them isn't horribly realistic, and I just want, you know, more cards with more action. I want Duress, I want Underworld Connections, I want Slaughter Games for Sphinx's Revelation, which Brian has 3 copies of. You know, I still want some spot removal to take care of some creatures. You know, I want to be able to take care of Thragtusk right away, so Restoration Angel can't play shenanigans with it. But, you know, cards like Dreadbore, Victim of Night, Murder, I want those still in my deck. You know, I'm looking at his deck list looking for Mizzium Mortars, because Mizzium Mortars actually does a nice job against these decks that try to gum up the board with creatures, with your Thragtusk, with your Restoration Angels. The Overload on it is what does a really nice job in this matchup, and there aren't any copies of that over there in Art's deck.
No, and he's got 2 Abrupt Decays, which probably he's going to want to cut as well. Don't like Abrupt Decay. Don't really like the Bonfires. So that's 6 cards right there. We, like you said, Underworld Connection, Duress, Slaughter Game, that's 5, and then a Rakdos Return. You know, that's 6 cards that we can see an easy swap of. You know, him definitely an upgrade for him. But the question is, does he want to bring in Deathrite Shaman, and does he want to bring in the Acidic Slimes? Probably not.
I'm taking a look over here at Brian's deck list. I mean, as far as removal for Olivia Valderin, he does have 4 copies of Searing Spear in his main deck, but if Art is able to get that up to a 4/4 right away, you know, there are 3 copies of Supreme Verdict in Brian's main deck. Not sure how many he's going to leave in after sideboard. He also has a 4th one in the sideboard, so, you know, there are going to be some number of that card, looming in his deck, I'm sure, but I would be surprised if there were the full 3, something like that, just because, you know, he doesn't want to kill his own guys, and, you know, the guys that he can kill of Arts, you know, are creatures that are going to be 1/1 Supreme Verdict, so not particularly ideal. But taking a look at Brian's sideboard, you find 2 copies of Jace Memory Adept. You find a copy of Assemble Legion, a card that Jund actually has a pretty hard time of dealing with. You know, you're able to cast that, and then it's just going to build up an incremental advantage while you guys are attritioning each other out, and then that can actually just take over the game. And then you find 4 copies of Geist Draft, which is actually pretty good against Jund as well. So, you know, because Art knows that Brian has copies of Geist Draft, maybe he does leave the Bonfires in.
Yeah, and the same thing, does he bring in Acidic Slime fearing the Assemble the Legion? Maybe he cuts the Nighthawk for Acidic Slime. So yeah, it's definitely tough because Brian just has so many diverse threats, and you're not really sure if you're Art. Am I going to have the right answers after board?
We do see both players underway here. You're going to see a Farseek here from Art. He starts with a Woodland Cemetery and a Kessig Wolf Run, and we'll see if he's going to search up a Stomping Ground or a Blood Crypt, but Brian here just does have a Hallowed Fountain.
I think turn 2 Farseek out of Jund is quickly becoming my least favorite play in Magic.
I just like how the games are wildly different when the deck casts Farseek and when it doesn't. Every time they cast a Farseek on turn 2, I'm just, ugh.
I feel like we've seen it in every single Jund matchup.
Yeah.
It's just turn 2 Farseek every single time.
Yep.
But, definitely a card that Art really needs there because lets him get the Huntmaster in play or Olivia in play under like a counterflux. Also allows him to get a Garruk Primal Hunter in play a little faster, which is huge because sometimes if he has to cast it on turn 5, Brian can go Restoration Angel on 4, attack it, and then Searing Spirit to finish it off.
And you do see Brian play a Sacred Foundry untapped, just past the turn back. No Augur of Bolas for him, which he does have 3 copies of. But just a Searing Spirit of the Vampire Nighthawk's going to take care of that. And you see Art without a 4th land. So Brian's going to take a draw here. Draw Sphinx's Revelation. And we do see a Glacial Fortress in his hand.
Are we going to have a backbreaking Geist of Saint Draft here? Or? No, it doesn't look like
just going to pass the turn back. Now, of course, both of these players are working with perfect information as far as deck lists are concerned, so there are no dissipates to fear, but 2 copies of Counterflux in Brian's deck is something for Art to consider.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like Art drew a 4th land yet, but he does have Olivia, so Liliana rather, so he has a play to make at least. Not ideal in this situation exactly, but chooses not to even do anything, so he's going to pass the turn.
I think in that situation you have to cast it. With the rest of the cards in your hand, you're looking at 2 Huntmaster of the Fells and Olivia Voldaren. He has a Garruk Primal Hunter in his hand as well. If he does peel off running lands, he's going to want to cast spells for the next X amount of turns, so you might as well get that part of the game over with and just cast the Liliana, and whatever happens with it, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, it's a little awkward now because, it's basically just going to sit in his hand now for a couple of turns. Brian's basically telegraphing Restoration Angel. So maybe he didn't want to discard any cards, but again, when you're behind on mana, you kind of need to do something in order to press the advantage. At least he would have been able to kill a Restoration Angel next turn if it happened to be that way. But
and you do see Counterflux take care of the Huntmaster of the Fells, and if that Counterflux took care of the Liliana of the Veil, that's not really a big deal. You just want to move past that part of the game where the Counterflux actually does something. By passing the turn, you're essentially time walking yourself, especially when you're not hitting a land drop. He can't really play 2 spells in one turn to try to bait out a Counterflux, as you're going to see Sacred Foundry come into play untapped here for Brian.
I'd much rather bait out a Liliana, a Counterflux with a Liliana, than a threat. You really just want to get your threats out there, especially if Brian doesn't have the turn 3 Geist, which is the main reason you have Liliana in there.
You do see Deathrite Shaman as a draw for Art this turn. He does move that Liliana forward in his hand. The other thing now is that if he pulls the trigger on Liliana, he's opened it up in such a way that Snapcaster Mage plus Counterflux is a real thing that can happen now. So again, holding it was a lot worse than actually casting it, but he is going to pull forward here and cast Liliana of the Veil.
I wonder if...
And so now you are going to see a Snapcaster Mage on the Counterflux, and the Counterflux is going to take care of it. So if he were to cast that Liliana on turn 3, it may have drawn out that Counterflux, and then Huntmaster the Fells would resolve. Now we have a different game here. But now we just see a Deathrite Shaman come down, and of course this isn't Modern or Legacy, so there aren't any fetch lands to remove. So how good is Deathrite Shaman in this situation? It's okay.
Well, amazingly enough, Brian actually boarded in Pillar of Flames, or he kept them in.
Yeah, he has 2 in his main deck and 2 in his sideboard, so Deathrite Shaman even looking a little bit worse now, as you see a hand for Brian of Pillar of Flame, 2 Azorius Charms, and Sphinx's Revelation.
So chooses not to block there. Probably going to pillar it now, and again, I think Brian basically said, I don't want to lose to Deathrite Shaman. It actually is pretty annoying if you have 4 Snapcaster Mages, so pretty good play there, or rather, pretty good strategy of keeping them in, or maybe even boarding them more.
Art draws a Victim of Night right now. You know, he does have an Olivia Voldaren in hand, Rakdos Return, Victim of Night. You've seen Acidic Slime in there as well. And I think that last card is a Garruk Primal Hunter. And, you know, at this point, you got to cast something. You just got to decide what you want to cast. You know, Victim of Night on Snapcaster Mage just isn't the best of turns, especially when there's 5 mana available representing a Restoration Angel.
Yeah, no, I think you want to try to get a threat out there. So you know he only has 2 counterfluxes, so a good chance it can resolve.
You're going to see Olivia Voldaren here.
We're going to cycle to see if we can draw another counterflux.
Yep, Azorius Charm is going to use the draw card mode. Brian going to take a draw step, and he draws a Sacred Foundry.
So I wonder, at this point, I think I would actually cycle again. Yeah, looks like that's what he's going to do. He can draw another Snapcaster, and there's an answer for Olivia.
Are you from the future? Just curious.
So Brian's, you know, in decent shape, but again, if Art draws a land, he can get that Garruk Primal Hunter to play. Because I think Brian's going to have to waste the turn here. Well, not waste, but he's going to have to spend the turn casting a Snapcaster, killing the Olivia, which means that's one more turn where he's not going to be able to cast Sphinx of Revelation, giving Art a chance to get a Garruk Primal Hunter to resolve.
Yeah.
And, you know, the great thing about that is he'll get the Primal Hunter to resolve, make a 3/3. Brian will try to cast Sphinx of Revelation, but Art still has a Rakdos Return in his hand. Yeah. So, interesting. Yeah, Art doesn't have a 5th land, so.
And he's actually pretty far away from casting that Garruk Primal Hunter, too, because it's triple green. He only has one woodland cemetery.
Yeah. Okay. That's a Blood Crypt out there. Yeah, so he doesn't have the triple green for it, so.
Now, actually, the big thing here is that he can cast a Rakdos Return for 2 and take out the last 2 cards in Brian's hand, which are 2 Sphinx's Revelation. So this is actually a huge Rakdos Return, getting 2 of the bigger cards. You see a huge fist pump here from Art. Now, of course, he is behind on the board, a little bit ahead on life totals.
No, but this is, that's huge. I mean, Brian's basically in top deck mode because if Art draws a land, the Rakdos comes down and just cleans everything up.
And you see Brian attack for 4 here, and he did draw a Thragtusk for the turn, so he's going to put more on the board here, but we do know that Art does have a copy of Thragtusk in his hand, and right now he needs to draw a land so he can actually cast this thing. So let's see what Art's draw step is. Art draws a Farseek.
Oh. It's always the Farseek.
Well, he does have a Victim of Night in his hand, so that's actually not horrible, as he can Farseek and cast Victim of Night. And so you are going to see a Farseek here. He's probably going to search out, likely going to search out a green source.
Yeah.
Not sure if it's going to be Stomping Ground or Overgrown.
Searches out green source. Probably Victim of the Night's the Thragtusk on the upkeep.
Yeah.
To make sure that a Resto Angel doesn't get drawn.
Yep.
You know, he'll drop to 8, but then Thragtusk comes down, and as long as Brian doesn't draw anything too insane, you know, suddenly he's, right back in this thing.
Yeah. Suddenly we got a game of Magic, and don't forget, you know, there are 4 copies of Bonfire of the Damned in Art's main deck, and, you know, we're not sure if he left those in or not. We don't know if maybe he skimped and cut a couple of them, but assuming that, you know, they are somewhere within his deck right now, that's a card that can turn this game around still as well.
Yeah, definitely. And losing both Revelations, and he has 2 Snapcasters in play, so basically 4 cards left in his deck that allow him to cast his Revelation. But again, you know, Brian's deck is a lot of good threats, and he has plenty of mana in play, and he has all the right colors, so Thundermaw, another Thragtusk, even a Geist isn't the worst card. So we're going to see an upkeep Victim, yep.
And that's what you see. You do see an upkeep Victim of Night take care of that Thragtusk. And Brian will get a Beast token, but it can't attack this turn.
Kessig Wolfrun and is another huge draw right here. Oh, wow, and he did do the Restoration Angel. So, good play by Art. And again, you know, it's still pretty good because even though Thragtusk is, obviously a very good play for Art, getting a Resto Angel, blinking your one of your Snapcasters, and I'm not sure if he has another Spearing Spear, but he can at least cycle his Azorius Charm to do a little more.
Keep increasing that velocity. But if you're Art, you just have to Windmill Slam that Thragtusk at this point. Hope it does resolve and just keep pushing forward. You do see he drew a Dreadbore for the turn, but he is going to tap out and cast that Thragtusk.
Get a little life, go up to 13.
5 is a little now?
Well, yeah, in the grand scheme of things. He pumps the fist again. You can kind of feel things starting to get a little bit better. He's got a Dreadbore for the Restoration Angel, which is, that could easily just win him the game too. But I'm not sure exactly what's in his graveyard. Azorius Charm looks like it could be the best option.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he's going to cycle that.
Yeah, he wants another Thragtusk, or really Kessig Wolf Run, but not sure what he drew. Thragtusk, yeah. And, again, he has a lot of good threats in his deck, so this is kind of what we expected to see.
And Sulfur Falls is the other draw here. This is a deck that Brian played the last time that he made top 8 as well. He was playing basically a blue-white-red deck splashing Thragtusk. I've seen him do this before. His mana was a lot worse the last time because Gatecrash wasn't around. But this is a strategy that he has employed before to some success. So we do see an attack here with all of the guys coming across. Art at 13 and figuring out how he does want to block here.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Art's hand contains 2 5-drops. So it doesn't look like he's going to be able to cast multiple spells next turn. So he can still Dreadbore the Restoration Angel, but a second Thragtusk here for Brian is still going to put a lot of pressure on Art. Again, did he bring in Bonfire of the Damned?
And you see that block there.
Or did he keep it in? Right?
You see the block there. He's blocking the Snapcaster Mage. It actually ends up making him take another point of damage. So he goes down to 5 as we're going to draw a card here. And he draws a Deathrite Shaman. By him going down to 5 OSIP, he Dreadboards the Angel, and then his Thragtusk gets in front of the other Thragtusk, but then he takes 3 from the Beast and 2 from the Snapcaster Mage. So that's actually the 5 that would be lethal. Now, if he would have blocked the Beast token, he would be at 6. That's a little bit different then.
Yeah, and he's basically, I think, hoping to top deck, or maybe he wasn't really, or he also didn't know that another Thragtusk was coming out. So I think he kind of wants to make sure that he has a blocker. But thankfully, he did draw a Deathrite Shaman, so he still has, I think, outs here. He can Dreadbore the Angel, play the Deathrite Shaman, so he'll still have 2 blockers, which means that Thragtusk probably trade, and Deathrite Shaman chumps the. Actually, he can block and kill the Snapcaster Mage.
And as you do see Art figure out how he wants to take his turn here, he's going to start off with a Dreadbore. It looks like he's going to pull the trigger on this, on the Restoration Angel. A quick update for you guys about the other matches. Devin March does win 2-0 in the blue-white-red Flash Mirror over Alex Etzel, so he'll be moving on to the top 4 tomorrow. He is our number 1 seed. And our other match, Evan Baritas playing Jun, wins 2-1 over Gary Wong playing blue-red Flash. So we're going to have a blue-red Flash deck moving on. We'll have a Jun deck moving on, Human Reanimator moving on, and either another Jun deck or a 4-color control deck, depending on the outcome of this match. So we do see Brian draw a card for the turn. It is a Hallowed Fountain.
Okay, so that's exactly what Art needed. So if Brian just attacks with all 3, we see he's going to Thragtusk trade, and Deathrite Shaman jumps in front of Snapcaster Mage.
Starts clearing up the board a little bit.
And, Acidic Slime can still come down, block and trade with anything.
Yeah,
so,
I think if you're Art here, you just have to make these trades. Get this Thragtusk this stuff over with.
Yeah, I like just Thragtusk trading, but we'll see. I also like taking out the Snapcaster Mage, because the difference between 3 and 2 is not that huge. I mean, he has Pillar Flames, but he also has Searing Spear, so I think I'd rather just get a creature off the board.
And see, I don't love this box. I just don't feel like he gets a lot done. Snapcaster Mage jumps in front of the Beast token. Thragtusk will die, and I don't really feel like Brian loses anything here.
Yeah, and the problem is you're still at 3. So I don't know. You only got rid of 1 of his creatures. You're gonna be under a lot of pressure.
Draw, Slaughter Games is the draw step.
So he can play Primal Hunter. He can make a token, and he'll go down to 1.
And you see Acidic Slime here. He still doesn't have triple. He still doesn't have triple green for that Garrett Primal Hunter.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's right. So he's able to Acidic Slime a land. So he's still, he's going to be able to trade with the Beast and go down to 1. but he's still basically in top deck mode.
Yeah, see,
and
and
it can't
that's-
be a shock land.
Yeah, see, and that's the problem here is that the Acidic Slime is going to take care of the land, what have you, but by chumping that Beast token instead of trading with the Snapcaster Mage, Brian would have 2 Beast tokens versus a Beast token and Acidic Slime. They could trade with each other, and then they can move forward with the board being even, as we do see a Hinterland Harbor come into play, but instead now you're going to see Acidic Slime get in front of the Beast token get in front of the other Beast token, and then Brian is going to be left with a Snapcaster Mage. Art's going to be at 1 life, he's going to face a lethal attack.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's he basically said, I want to make sure I have 1 life, but top deck's the land.
Top decks the forest.
Perfect forest.
Gets himself out of the situation, so now Garruk Primal Hunter is going to come down. The perfect land for Art that turn.
So it's exactly what Art needed. So Brian basically, he can draw any burn spell, he can draw a Restoration Angel, he can draw a Keswick Wolf Run.
He can draw Snapcaster Mage for the Pillar
draw
of Flame in
another
his graveyard.
Snapcaster
He can
Mage.
draw Thundermaw Hellkite. He can draw Sulfur
He
Falls.
can draw Sulfur Falls.
And he can pass the turn back.
I probably would have held the Sulfur Falls just to sort of bluff something. I mean, because now you might have. Well, forget it. So, okay.
So now we are going to see a Thragtusk here from Art. And what we might see here as well, Osip, is a Thragtusk plus Garruk's -3 ability to draw 5 cards. Thragtusk is going to start things. Art shrugs his shoulders and said, yeah, it's a pretty good draw.
Probably should have maybe left the black up in case he draws Tragic Slip.
Sure. And so now Garruk is going to go down. 5 cards coming. Stomping Ground, another land. Farseek, another land. And is that another Garruk? So
not the... Brian's still not in bad shape. I think, so what, 6... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7...
Don't you
8,
play?
9.
All right, he doesn't play that land untapped, which is smart because if he does, and to Farseek, then he could die to a Thundermaw Hellkite, but he's just going to pass the turn back. Brian's going to draw another card. Brian finds a Sun Petal Grove and puts it right into play. This is the definition of frustration here for Brian, as Art is going to untap. He's going to draw, and now if you're Art, as he does draw a Woodland Cemetery, it's time to get this game over with. I think he needs to start attacking.
Yeah, I mean...
He's dodged quite a few bullets here, Matrix style, and I don't think you can keep counting on doing that. So he's going to make a Beast token here, and if I'm him, I want to put the pressure on now.
The thing is, he has to be careful not to lose to Keswick Wolf Run.
Well, is there anything he could realistically do about that at this point?
Well, as long as he has, I believe he needs 6 toughness out back there. Not sure. He can slaughter games naming Thundermaw Hellkite, I guess, which is probably the most dangerous card right now.
Yeah, I mean, you can make an argument for naming that.
Wolf Run, rather, that he can actually name.
Sure. You can make an argument for naming that. You can make an argument for naming Sphinx's Revelation, because the Snapcaster Mage now on Sphinx's Revelation is very, very realistic, and I don't think there's any coming back from a Sphinx's Revelation.
Well, the thing about Thundermaw is Thundermaw actually just kills him. Thundermaw basically means I need to draw a removal spell next turn or I'm dead.
He's been pretty good at top decking when he needed to, so he always put that in the equation.
Yes. I won't argue with you there. So let's see what he does at the naming. So he names Restoration Angel.
Restoration Angel.
Interesting.
Okay.
Looks like all the Thundermaws were at the bottom of his deck, so perhaps naming Restoration Angel would really whammy him if he ends up shuffling the Thundermaws back to the top of Brian's deck.
That's a healthy way to look at things. Yeah.
It would be justice,
yes,
as LSV says, if he ends up losing the game because of a Thundermaw Hellkite.
It would be a little bit ironic, I do agree, as Art is going to take a look at this deck and get some information and realize just how many bullets he has dodged over the past couple of draw steps. But again, this is Magic. You need to take advantage of the situation when he gets there. He has gotten a little bit fortunate this game, but again, I think the most important thing here is that he just needs to try to get this game over as fast as he can and just shorten the turns.
Yeah, I don't think Brian has enough mana to Wolf Run for lethal through 6 toughness. So I think Art's safe to attack with one of his creatures, probably a Thragtusk, to try to get this game over with pretty quickly. He also has a Wolf Run in play, so if he attacks with 1 Thragtusk, dropping Brian to 17. Next turn could potentially No, probably not. But yeah, still, I think. Oh, he gets Farseek now, so yeah, it could be lethal next turn. Um,
So now we are going to see Thragtusk come across. So he is going to start putting the pressure on. Going to attack Brian down to 17. We'll probably see a Farseek here from Art to increase his land count.
Yeah, so it's actually great because now he's threatening lethal. So if Brian just plays another land, drops another land on the table, like he did last turn, he's basically conceding the game to Art,
exposing that he just does not have anything.
Yeah, because if he holds the card in his hand, then Art maybe might not go for it during Azorius Charm or something. So see what Brian does on his turn.
I predict that Brian's going to draw Sphinx's Revelation.
I think that's probably a reasonable draw.
You're the one from the future. Am I right or am I wrong?
I think you're probably wrong. I think he only has one left in his deck. Even Thundermaw doesn't do it this time. I don't think it's a Sphinx's Revelation.
What is that?
No, that's definitely not the man. That is not the look of a man who's just
what is that? Oh, that's an Azorius Charm. Let's cycle that. That's
Snapcaster Mage. Oh, where were you 10 turns ago? So Snapcaster means you can gain 4 life. I mean, that's not a bad draw because at least he doesn't die to the Kessig Wolfrun. So
yeah, I mean, Art looks like he's a little bit defeated here, but again, I agree with you. Like, you know, this game certainly isn't over. Snapcaster Mage gives him a bevy of options, and depending on what Art's play is this turn, you know, this game is certainly not over. As Art's going to untap very quickly, he's going to draw a card. He draws a Stomping Ground. So, you know, Art's Garrick activation to draw cards was relatively blank, as were his draw steps afterward.
Yeah, I think his only play this turn, I believe, is just to make a beast. And now he might... Okay, so I don't think he's going to activate Wolfrun. Well, he could activate Wolfrun because he's not going to have any other play.
He certainly can activate Wolfrun. I almost think he should.
Yeah.
You see an activation here. It looks like a big one. And this is going to be an activation for 7 here, so this is going to be an attack for 12. And again, he could have attacked for lethal if he wanted to. But he just chose to attack with the Thragtusk and then Wolfrun that. So let's see, as you know, Brian, we know that he has a Snapcaster Mage in his hand. Is he going to try to Azorius Charm this back to the top?
I don't like that play.
Or is he going to Sphinx's Revelation, which I like a whole lot more? I told you to draw Sphinx's Revelation.
You need to draw 2 Thundermail guys.
Hey, that's well within the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
So we do see a Revelation here from Brian. It's going to gain him 4 life. It's going to draw him 4 cards, and you're going to see Thragtusk get all that damage through.
Oh, I hope he draws 2 Thundermail Hellkites, just so that my prediction of the Slaughter games comes true. Is Kessig Wolfrun good enough now?
He can make another beast token right now, so I'm not entirely sure.
No, probably
9
not.
toughness. Assuming that he does make that beast token and doesn't pass the turn. All right, so you see the die moving up. Beast token's going to be coming in.
Art's a pro. He's not going to pass the turn.
And Brian doing a nice job of sandbagging these guys. I don't think he's even looked at him.
Yeah, he's not even looking at him.
Searing Spear, Thragtusk.
Ooh, well then.
A couple of things there.
You certainly made things more interesting.
So Brian gonna untap. Gonna take a draw step.
And he can't. He has 2 green.
Augur of Bolas. See a couple copies of Thragtusk there. Looking at his green mana, you do see a Breeding Pool down there. Not sure what other green sources of mana he does have. He has Sun Petal Grove as well.
I love this play. I think he's basically going to cast Augur, try to dig a little more, then play Thragtusk, gain 5, and he has the Searing Spear to target
whatever he
Wolfruns.
Yeah. Sure. So we're going to see Augur of Bolas. So you see a Pillar Flame, you see a Mystery card, and you see a Glacial Fortress. Looks like Pillar is going to be the card that he takes. Yes, it is.
So again, you know, not the worst thing ever. Gets him down to 4, gives him a little more reach. We know he's got a Searing Spear in his hand, so play Thragtusk. Play Thragtusk here, or
now the scary thing here, if you're Brian, and this is actually like pretty terrifying, is obviously he has that Searing Spear there to, you know, negate whatever Wolford activation that does take place. But Garruk Primal Hunter is on 3 counters. There is a Thragtusk in play, so he can actually just draw 5 more cards. You know, then that opens up the possibility for Rakdos Return and a lot of other different things here.
I think you have to chance it though, because like realistically, what is Brian's plan here? Like he has to try to win the game.
I mean, it could be something as simple as
he could pillar the Garruk.
he could just pillar the Garruk. Yeah,
I'm not, you know, I'm fine with that play, but no, I definitely want to see him try to be the aggressor here. I can't see what the other cards. I think he has. Yeah, I think it's 2 Thragtusk.
Yeah, he does have 2 Thragtusk, Pillar of Flame, and Searing Spear. Thragtusk is going to push Brian up to 14 here, and I personally think that you're supposed to pull the trigger on the Pillar of Flame on the Garruk, push it down to 1 counter, so you don't have to worry about the threat of 5 more cards that you have to beat.
Yeah, it does buy him a couple turns. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you have to pillar it just to buy yourself some turns.
And he chooses not to, probably holding that burn, maybe to consider going upstairs with it. Art does take a draw step. Not sure what the card was, but we know it wasn't Bonfire the Damned.
Yeah, because, you know, Art's with a second Garruk in his hand, it's very likely that Art will just cash in the one he has in play, draw 5, to try to dig for a card like you said, Rakdos Return, or which basically, or even a Duress.
Yep.
Really, yeah. So definitely, probably should have pillared the Garruk there. Let's see what he does here.
You see him moving that die,
Yep.
and 5 cards deeper, if that's okay with you. Art says okay.
So, I mean, he drew a bunch of lands off the last one, so let's see what happens this time. There's
Olivia, Blood Crypt, Dreadbore, Rakdos Return,
and
I didn't quite make out that last
card.
one. Yeah.
So, you know, you talked about it.
It looked like the last card was a second Rakdos Return here. So now Art has a ton of cards. You've seen Underworld Connections in his hand as well. And so now Art has to consider a lot of things here, because by drawing 5 more cards, he has a lot of options, obviously, on the things that he can do. You know, Brian has 4 mana up right now, and that represents a ton of things. It represents Snapcaster Mage. It represents Restoration Angel on Thragtusk.
Well, the thing is, though, is that it's actually, you know, it's not great. But because Art drew the cards, he's unlikely to activate Wolfrun. So he doesn't have to use the Searing Spear on one of the creatures. So if Art does actually cast Rakdos Return, he can just Searing Spear Art and still dropping 3. So it gives Brian a lot more outs.
Turns on a Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah, it turns on Thundermaw. You know.
Turns on additional Pillar of Flame if he boarded more in. It turns on a lot
more
cards.
Well, no, he's going to lose the Pillar.
Oh, you're right. I
apologize.
apologize.
Lose the Pillar this turn. So we might just see like Rakdos for 2, Dreadbore, your Thragtusk, but we're definitely probably not going to see a Wolfrun activation this turn.
And this is a tough situation here if you're Art, because now that you've drawn 5 cards, there are a lot of things racing in your head about all the options that you have in your hand, but again, also the things that Brian can have in his hand, because again, he did Sphinx of Revelation for 4, plus took a draw step for his turn. So this is a brand new game.
Yeah.
And you see, he's trying to figure out how much am I supposed to Rakdos Return for here. And this is Rakdos
he
Return.
only has 5 mana left.
Yeah, it looks like this is Rakdos Return for 3.
Which might see Searing Spear in response. Loses the second Thragtusk, obviously, but.
Yeah, and there's your Searing Spear in response.
So I think he has 1 Sphinx's Revelation left in his deck.
Yeah, he plays 3 copies.
Obviously he wants to draw Thundermaw, but I'm not sure Wolfrun's really an option anymore.
Yeah, it looks
There's
like that.
Too much glut on the board.
It looks like that ship has sailed.
He's got 1. No, I think Wolfrun still wins it. Yeah, because he has a lot more creatures now than he did before. When we were talking about it, he just had the Snapcaster.
Sure.
Now with 4 creatures, I think Wolfrun will still win him the game. So yeah, it's basically 2 Thundermaw, 2 Wolfruns probably are his live cards right now.
Snapcaster as well.
Yeah, Snapcaster as well.
I mean, even a card like Augur of Bolas could potentially find another Searing Spear or something like that. You know, they're
basically
countless.
Anything but a land.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, even
Even Restoration Angel on Snapcaster.
Well, no, he
gets
so
it done.
no,
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yep, Slaughter Games. I apologize. So you see another Garrick Primal Hunter here. It's at 3, as we're going to get the white die out there for you guys to see. It's going to go up to 4. He's going to get another beast token here. And attacking is looking, difficult. We've got this huge glut on the board here.
I think that, it's just...
It's weird because glutting up this game the way that Art has, it feels like it almost favors Brian in a weird way.
Well, Brian can go over the top. He's got the memos.
And as you see Thractos coming across here, the other Thractos going to jump in front right away.
Yeah, really no reason not to.
Beast tokens come in.
Brian has a number of cards he can draw that can just win him the game outright. I personally hope it's Thundermaw, so that my prediction comes true. But, we'll see here. Could just be a land.
Draw. Brian draws.
And it looks like it is just a land.
It's a land, and he just plays it right away.
You can't play that there.
Yeah, I think you have to hold that and try to bluff something.
Yeah, because now Art knows I'm just going to go all in on my Keswick Wolfman.
Yeah, there's nothing stopping me from just going in now. And especially because one of his guys is just going to be unblocked. Now, of course, we know that Art has another copy of Raptor's Return in his hand, but, by playing your land there, it just makes it so that he's working on perfect information now. And now he just knows that he has won this game. As far as he does it, as long as he does his math right.
I don't think he has enough. Because if Brian's at 11, I think he can Wolf Run for it looks like 7.
Yeah, play 11 on tap. Yeah, go to 1.
So that's just enough. It's 11. Yep. That's the math.
This is an attack with all the creatures.
And, block. Looks like you're going through the motions.
Yep. And I'm going to cast a Wolf Run.
The slowest concession.
and truthfully, he didn't even need that land to do that, because this is a Wolf Run for 9. So he didn't even need this land.
So is he doing the... Okay.
It looks like we're counting up some lands here and exactly what's going on. Yep, okay. And it comes to the realization that he's finally done, so Brian is going to pack up his cards here, and Art, as Brian does draw a land, the top card is Keswick Wolf Run. He does just pass the turn back. And you can see a little bit of frustration there. So we are going to go to a third and final game here tonight. See which one of these two players is going to move along to the top 4.
And the reason we're talking this quietly is because we are literally the only 2 people left in this hall.
And because we want you guys to dim the lights.
Yeah, we want you to dim the lights.
We'll light some candles.
Drink a little Pinot Grigio.
That's right, buckle down with us this evening here in Las Vegas.
For all you East Coasters who are up.
Yeah, what
this
time
is
is
Magic
it out there?
After Dark.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be on NBC soon. That's for sure. The way that guy talks on Poker After Dark is ridiculous. Really trying to set the mood.
I think Brian's still probably in good shape. We saw just how many live cards he had. Granted, Art was a little mana screwed early on in the game, but again, cards like Geist Sustained Draft, especially if he's on the play now, could just be too huge. Especially if we have a play where it's like turn 2 Augur, turn 3 Geist, and Art doesn't have the Farseek, there's very few cards that can really win him the game. Even Liliana doesn't do anything there. So, Brian's deck now, of the 2, Brian's deck is the only one in this situation that can get kind of a nut draw, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. That's the one thing the Jund deck doesn't really have. It does not have that nut unbeatable draw, whereas Brian's deck certainly does have that. A very, very back and forth game there. Pretty entertaining to watch.
It was actually pretty fun, considering that they were just dishing out haymakers back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And Art slowly clawed his way back into the game, despite Brian having a number of cards that he could have just top decked at any point.
As we do get a tweet here from @DerekEgler. EST here, Eastern Standard Time, drinking a few beverages with himself, listening to the soothing sounds of you and I.
The soothing sounds.
# enjoyment. Proud of that. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us at Magic After Dark.
That's right.
We are literally 2 of 8 people left in a giant room.
Yes, figuratively. And I know.
They're across the room, and I can hear them shuffling.
Mm-hmm. Just deep in the tank.
It's very difficult to be this quiet and not sound ridiculous.
Yeah. It would suck if I was the Andy Samberg character from Parks and Recreation who can only talk like this. But luckily I'm not. Luckily I'm not.
So,
Glenn Jones wondering if he can play music right now. The answer is no, Glenn. No, the answer is no. Unless it's mood music, then yes. Do you have Barry White on Spotify?
At some point during the match, I'm just going to be like, I can't believe he drew Thragtusk. Start to notice. So we got to try to be very quiet.
Yeah.
But I actually don't mind it because I feel like my voice sounds much better in my dulcet tones.
Yeah, it's not so bad. I don't mind it too much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, looks like we're going to have a couple of keeps here. Or
Yeah,
no?
it doesn't look like both players really went back to the sideboard here. And I saw one card in Art's hand, and he's playing Jund, so can you guess what it is?
Please don't tell me it's Farseek.
It is Farseek. It is Farseek in his hand, yes. Just,
Every time this deck has a
hey,
Farseek.
hey. That's how you get here.
I
Got a Farseek on turn 2.
my least favorite deck ever existing.
Has there been a deck that's so crucial to cast that turn 2 Mana Accelerant when they only 4 in the deck than this one?
I can't think of one. I mean, he does have Arbor Elf, I guess, but still. It's always just the fact that it's always the Farseek.
Yeah. That's how you know it's your day sometimes. You just look up turn 2, bang. Right now, up to 3. That's just how it works, man. It's like clockwork.
Yeah, sometimes my deck looks mediocre. Sometimes my deck looks incredible.
Yeah.
This all comes down to this 2-mana sorcerer spell.
That is.
Who would have thought the
That's
most
right.
important spell in the format's Farseek, not Sphinx Revelation?
Hey, don't tell Sphinx's Revelation that. I almost won Brian that game, as we do see Brian taking a mulligan to 6 here, I believe, and looking at his opening
I
hand.
see at least 2 lands, so I think we might be keeping.
He doesn't look stoked, though. You see a Restoration Angel and you see a Steam Vents. We're underway here, Game 3 of the quarterfinals, last match. We'll see who moves on to tomorrow, as we do see from Art a Blood Crypt on tap.
Deathrite Shaman, here we go.
Deathrite, or is he maybe starting with a Duress? He is.
Ooh.
And so you're going to see a hand of Azorius Charm, Restoration Angel, Counterflux. And it looks like 2 more lands, maybe 3.
I wonder what he goes here for. What he takes here. I actually don't mind taking the Azorius Charm.
I don't mind taking it either.
Yeah, I kind of like it because he doesn't actually have mana for Counterflux right now.
And you see the other 2 lands are Hinterland Harbor and Sun Petal Grove. And I'm personally okay with taking Azorius Charm and just stopping his ability
There we go,
to
good
gain
play.
some velocity. Yeah,
I don't want him to cycle through his deck anymore.
Make him work on that mulligan to 6.
I hope Art doesn't have a way to cast his turn 2 Farseek. Sadly, I know that's never the case. So it looks like we're gonna have turn 2.
Your favorite
Farseek,
card.
everyone's favorite.
That's right. And we're going to bring Farseek up on the screen for you guys, for anyone that doesn't know what it does, which is impossible, and I can't believe my director's going to bring it up, but he is, because he's the best. There it is. Osip, your favorite card, your invitational card.
Oh, this is the first time I've seen this card
Ooh,
today.
yes.
Farseek.
Fun artwork. When I saw that was an M13 instead of Rampant Growth, I knew it was going down. I saw what was coming.
I'm not sure if I hate this card so much because Jund players play it or that it's Mike Flores' favorite card. It's some combination of the two.
It's awesome.
So by playing the turn 2 Sun Petal Grove, Brian basically saying I'm not going to have access to Counterflux until at least turn 4, if then. So Art pretty much has the road all clear for a turn 4, Huntmaster if he has it, or Olivia, or anything he wants to play.
It does have the green light here, and you do see in Art's hand, he does have a Bonfire the Damned. Again, we don't know how many he left in for sideboarding games. He had 4 in his main deck, and, over the course of that last game that we watched, it would have been fantastic.
And you see Brian basically here, he's kind of realizing his mistake, because he did draw Glacial Fortress, and had he played a Hinterland Harbor on turn 2, he would have been able to actually cast the Counterflux now. But you know, and once you realize that, you should probably just end up playing the Hinterland Harbor anyway.
Yeah.
Rather than letting Art know that you're going to have a counterspell next turn.
There's a Dragon Skull Summon, and you do see Huntmaster of the Fells, so he does have a way to capitalize.
So, you know, Brian does have a Searing Spear, and he has a Huntmaster, but yeah, I mean, not taking the opportunity to actually counterflux. That's pretty annoying. But you know, he's not out of it. He's still got Restoration Angel, which can block token for days, and now he has access to counterflux. So.
And Azorius Charm was his draw step this turn. So Brian doing okay on his mulligan here. Art does take a draw. Kessig Wolf, and you see Acidic Slime in his hand as well. Acidic Slime looking really, really good here. If he's able to bait out that Restoration Angel here, Acidic Slime can blow up those lands and cause a lot of trouble here for Brian.
Yeah, he's got a Thragtusk too, so he basically got like a great hand against counterflux. He's
Yeah.
like, and he's got Wolfrun too. So basically the world.
And he's going to pull the trigger.
Guy,
and he knows that he has
the counterflux.
Yeah, that he has a counterflux.
Doesn't care. He's like, fine, you got a counter, and I'm getting a Thragtusk next turn. You already used the Searing Spear, so good luck.
So he comes across for 2 with the Wolf token and does pass the turn back. Just get past the counterflux part of the game is the important part. Something that he didn't do last game that he did this time. Sphinx's Revelation, the draw step here for Brian. One of the more impressive draws, and he does just pass the turn back. Art's going to draw a card. Draws a Huntmaster of the Fells. Fully aware that Brian does have Restoration Angel, so he can make the decision on if he wants to trade the Wolf token and a Wolfrun activation for it, or just cast a Thragtusk this turn, which he does elect to do. That's going to resolve. Art going to gain 5 life, and we do know that he has an Overgrown Tomb in his hand. Let's see if he's going to put that in play tapped, and no reason to attack that Wolf token.
Maybe he forgot about the Restoration Angel.
I certainly hope not.
Stranger things have happened.
Truer words have never been spoken.
And we got a pass, so.
I thought we were going to keep our cliche thing going. It's too bad. We'll work on the chemistry later. Temple Garden draw here for Brian.
Probably plays it on tap. Gonna try to cycle Sphinx's Revelation here.
That's a painful thing to say, cycle Sphinx's Revelation.
Well, slightly better than cycling, I suppose.
Stomping around the draw here. And
uh-oh. Yeah, you better hold on.
Yeah.
That is outrageous.
Yeah.
All right, quick fix.
Yeah.
So, you know, honestly, it's not the worst shape for Brian. I mean, it's not great, but, you know, Art's got just another Huntmaster in his hand. And he's got a Bonfire, so...
And you see Restoration Angel is probably going to jump in front of this Wolf token as Art is going to threaten a Wolfrun activation, most likely.
Which is great because, you know, then he can Azorius Charm the token and hope to draw another land for a Sphinx for 3 instead.
And so you're going to see that Wolfrun activation here. And it's going to be for the full Monty, which is going to be 4 here. Azorius Charm is going to make that thing go right away.
Brian ends up taking 5 and going on 11.
Yeah.
So, pretty solid turn.
I'm not sure I love that turn there by Art. Would have liked to add more to my board. Thragtusk the draw step here.
Very good.
And that's a very good draw step. So he is going to gain 5, move up to 16. I think, I think you can start getting in with that Restoration Angel now.
So now he just has a Bonfire and a Huntmaster.
Draw step here reveals Dreadbore, which is, you know, it's okay.
Well, the question here is, do you commit the Huntmaster to the board and Dreadmore the Angel?
Yeah, I want to beat down. I want to put the pressure on. You know, I know my opponent's deck has Sphinx's Revelation in it. I don't know that he has it in his hand right now, but you know, you can attack with a Thragtusk. We can trade off. You know, I don't like a Kessig Wolfrun activation this turn at all.
No.
You know, and what you're going to see just an activation for. See what she's going to do
I like that play
for 2.
Yeah, I like that. I'm fine with that play.
So you see an activation.
For 2.
Yeah, so he's gonna. Yeah, you see an activation for 2, and then he's going to Dreadbore the Angel, and he's going to get 2 points of damage in here. I would have personally liked to add to the board a little bit more, which is just to play the Huntmaster of the Fells, and then Dreadbore the Angel, and then just keep going and dare my opponent to draw a Supreme Verdict.
My problem with this play is he's basically saying, I'm going to play around Supreme Verdict, but the problem with that is then why are you Dreadboarding the Angel, and what happens if he has a Sphinx Revelation instead? You know? It's like, that's even worse for you. because you don't have enough pressure on the board anymore, and he draws a wolf right now.
Yep.
So he's going to be able to swing for 3. If Art draws another land here, Brian could actually be right back in this game.
I would have much preferred to just keep adding to the board here.
Yeah, because based on the way Art played the last turn, I could totally see him just going bonfire for 3. No, you can't do that. Don't attack. That doesn't seem reasonable. Yeah, don't attack. Attacking just seems bad because, if you don't attack, you give Art the chance of just making a mistake.
Yeah.
You have to pass there, because if you pass, Art can just go all in with Keswick Run, which is great for you. It's fine because you're in Sphinx anyway. The one thing you don't want Art to do is commit more to the board, which is probably what he does for sure if you attack.
Yeah.
So I think you kind of want to just make sure that you at least give Art the opportunity to make a bad play.
Yeah. Overthrown Tomb here from Art, going to knock himself down to 21. You get to know what role you're in this game as well.
Yeah.
His life total is 12 right now, as you're going to see.
See, that's exactly what you want to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it stinks that you're going to be taking, 5 damage, but you're gaining 3 of it back, and Art has nothing left on his board. So if you draw, a red source and a fundamental kite, you're suddenly back in this game.
Yeah. And you're going to see Sphinx Revelation for 3. So now we just have a completely different game here.
Yeah, it's just like, this is exactly what Brian wanted, and this all could have maybe happened much differently had he attacked with that beast.
Yep. And again, Brian's deck has so many good cards that he can draw in it, because his deck is just, the cards in his deck, they're just so good.
Another Thractus. A Thractus Angel would be amazing. Can't see anything now.
Yeah.
So he did draw a Thundermaw, so that's stage 1. He actually drew the red land and the Thundermaw.
And you
so
see
stage 1's complete.
And it's going to come across here for 5. So now the clock is on.
And he's got the Keswick Run too. So the problem is that we know. Oh, so he drew another land. So things are basically what Brian needs to happen to try to come back in this game is happening so far, but he's still not out of it.
Yeah.
Because Brian still has a Wolf Run and a Huntmaster, as well as a Bonfire. So he's not quite there at being able to Bonfire for 5, but still he's going to be able to play a Huntmaster, and he can Wolf Run the unblocked token for a lot.
And see, the game is so much different than Huntmaster's in play earlier.
Yeah.
A couple turns ago, because he's still, he's still being able to pressure his opponent. Right now, he's just hoping that his opponent doesn't really draw anything while he's being beaten down for 5 in the air. And Keswick Wolf Run activations are looming here. And now, it was a favorable spot for Art, but now the race is fully on. Now Art needs a top deck where a game where he shouldn't need to do that.
Yeah. And the thing is, Brian does have, I think he has a Supreme Verdict to actually deal with the Huntmaster. So it gives him a way to deal with the Huntmaster.
Yeah, a little bit of insurance.
And he basically leveled the playing field, because he said, okay, I'm going to drop you to 10. We're both at 10 now, and now I'm just going to clear the board.
Do you like verdicting here?
I think you have to. He has no other options, right? He's going to lose.
Okay.
Yeah, like you.
Oh, sure, because of the Wolf Run.
The Huntmaster would flip.
Flip too.
So
yeah, you're right.
You have to. So not the worst shape. He has 1 land. Art has a Bonfire. Oh wow.
There's a Rakdos return.
Yeah,
that's
so
a heck of a draw. So that's going to be for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a Rakdos return for 7.
Yeah, and then Bonfire clears things up.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what Art draws for the turn. He can still draw Thractus. He can still draw Sphinx's Revelation.
Certainly not over yet.
Yeah. So this is a Rakdos return for 7.
He's just discarding a land.
Yep.
He's got 8 lands in play, so if he draws a Sphinx's Revelation or a Thractus, he could still buy himself a turn.
Even Counterflux is okay. Same with Snapcaster Mage.
It's true.
Let's take a draw.
I think it's an Azorius Charm. He's got to cycle it now to get a Thractus.
He needs to make sure he uses his mana right, too.
Yeah.
Cycle Azorius Charm, draw a card.
And it's
Glacial Fortress. He's just going to put it in the play and say go. Yeah.
And his Bonfire clears the day. Yeah.
Yep, Bonfire the Dam. For lethal. That's going to do it.
And there he is. Yep.
Art Macurda.
Talking in normal voices now. Brian probably got a little unlucky in game 2.
Yeah.
You can see the frustration build a little bit, but he did everything he could in that last game to sort of come back, or at least try to come back.